Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I hope everything's going very well. I wanted to speak a little bit about Issac Avinu, Isaac, our father. Isaac is the son of Abraham. He was a tremendously holy man who helped bring down a very powerful light into this world. And that started with his father. His father Abraham was the first monotheist of his generation, and he really connected to Hashem. Abraham, as I spoke about in my previous video, he basically observed the world carefully, and he came to the conclusion, and he understood that there was a creator, so much so that eventually the creator revealed himself to Abraham. And as you know, a lot of different things happened until the birth of Isaac, the miraculous birth of Yitzchak, when his parents were in their old age. And Isaac was circumcised at 8 days old. Unlike his father Abraham, who was circumcised at 99 years old, Isaac was circumcised at 8 days old, as we all were in most cases. And for that reason, he was the first born Jew, the first Jew from birth, so to speak, to an extent. And interestingly, one time Issac Avinu was arguing with Ishmael, his older half brother, and Ishmael said, "You got circumcised at 8 days old, but it wasn't even your choice. I got circumcised at 13 days old." At 13 years old, and it was my choice, and I did it, and I chose to. You just were forced to. So Isaac says, "Oh yeah? Well, you gave up one organ, but I'd give up my entire life for the Creator." That's what little Isaac said to Ishmael, and Hashem actually took Isaac up on his word. And as you know, the story plays on, where Abraham is asked to take his son, his only son, the son that would inherit his birthright. He was told to take that son, Isaac, and to sacrifice him upon the altar. And that's Abraham's story, and that was Abraham's test. But it was also, to an extent, a test to Isaac. And as we know, Isaac, when Abraham tied him, Isaac was eager to do it as well. He wanted to be part of it too, and he says, "Abba, tie me tighter." He wanted to be sure that he could be a part of this commitment to Hashem, and he asked his father to tie him even tighter when he was upon the altar. And as we know, the story plays out that he is forgiven. I mean, not forgiven. I meant to say the story forgives that he passed the test, and he was absolved from that, and Hashem had no intention of Isaac being offered as a sacrifice. It was just a test to see how much Abraham was willing to do for the Creator. And then the story continues, and Isaac gets older, and he continues the legacy of his father Abraham. I once asked a rabbi, said, who was at a higher level, Abraham or Isaac? And the rabbi said, it's hard to compare, because think about it this way: Isaac had Abraham. All the effort that Abraham made in his life to attain the level he attained, he gave it all over to Isaac. So Isaac was starting at a higher point than Abraham. Abraham had to start from scratch, but Isaac started from where his father left off. So he really handed Isaac the torch. Abraham handed Yitzchak the torch, and Yitzchak continued to spread out the well springs of Hashem. And he was known to build wells. That was a successful thing. He used to build wells everywhere. And he was very prosperous, and a lot of kings were jealous of Isaac. But interestingly, Isaac was very powerful. And there's a few different things I want to talk about, but the main thing is that Isaac was able to develop his own relationship with Hashem. Even being the son of Abraham, he was able to develop his own independent relationship with Hashem, so to speak, which is very, very, very impressive, because he is born to one of the most influential figures of all time, one of the greatest prophets we have ever seen, Abraham, and the forefather. And Isaac, with all that being said, with all that his father is and is known to be, Isaac still didn't live his life in the shadows of his father, but he worked hard enough to develop his own relationship with Hashem, where he, despite being in the light his entire life, he still continued to search for it, and he wasn't satisfied just being Abraham's son. He became his own giant in his own right. And he developed his own relationship with Hashem, not just through his father, but through himself, through the help of everything his father's done. And then Isaac, as he gets older, he marries Rebecca, and they're not able to have kids for a while, until at one point, after 20 years of trying, it's Isaac's prayers that are answered. And this is another interesting topic that relates to this. Isaac's prayer was answered more than Rebecca's, because Rebecca was born to an evil family, and she became right. She was righteous, and she transcended that darkness. But it was, in a sense, she was so different from them that it was so obvious from her to turn away from her father Lavan's evil ways. Whereas for Isaac, he had a different struggle where he was Abraham's son, and he had to find his own connection to Hashem, even though he was Abraham's son, and it's so hard to become at the level of Abraham. But nonetheless, Isaac developed his own completely personal relationship with Hashem, his own connection, his own light, and through that his prayers were answered. And it was because of how challenging that is to be able to do that when you're the son of Abraham, to be able to develop your own completely new relationship with the Creator is something admirable, Baruch Hashem. And as we continue into this story, eventually Isaac has his own two kids, and the twins, and we see that Isaac was blind, and that's where he was able to get tricked to end up giving Jacob the blessing and passing the torch on. And we see that Abraham was chesed, more to the side of kindness. As you know, there's a balance of kindness, severity, and harmony in the middle, tiferes. So Abraham was more to the side of chesed. Isaac was more gevura. He was more gevura. And basically, to add to that concept, Abraham was, because of his chesed, because of his great kindness, he was getting hurt because of that kindness. His enemies were capitalizing against him because of Abraham's great chesed. It was almost too much kindness that allowed him to get hurt in certain scenarios. Isaac, on the other hand, was more severe, was more strict. Isaac Lenin was unstoppable in a sense. He was more to the side of gevura, severity, strict. And therefore, the same things that were causing Abraham to get hurt were not able to touch Isaac. We can maybe get into that topic, hopefully, in another video if there's interest in that. But basically, just a little add to that, Isaac was more strict Abraham was more kind. And that's why they say he had a son like Ishmael. Whereas they say that Isaac was a little bit more to the side of severity, and that's why he had Esav. Whereas Jacob was the perfect balance of his father and Abraham, Tiferes. He was right in the middle of kindness and severity in a perfect harmony. But basically, you see there's a step. From Abraham we get Isaac, and then Jacob there's a step. Hashem always works in steps, different stages. And Isaac is the next stage of this leader of the generation, of this tzaddik, the idea of the tzaddik. And this idea that the tzaddik is always standing on the shoulders of the previous tzaddik, so it's always to the higher level, and the next level, and the next level. So basically, it's not that who was better, Isaac or Abraham. That's not the question, who's better. The question is they are on the same, there's no question, they're on the same team here. Isaac has all the powers that Abraham had. Basically, all the power that Abraham unlocked, all the prayers, all the knowledge of God, all this power that he revealed to the world, he passed it to Isaac, and now Isaac is taking it to the next level. He's acquiring even more and more and more and more, and he's starting from where Abraham left off. So that's the concept, basically. And this has been quite a long video, relatively speaking, for most of my videos. But basically, Isaac was a very impressive person for that reason. And he's spoken about, I think, less than Jacob, and definitely less than Abraham. But nonetheless, we know how great of a person he is, and basically why his prayers were answered, and why Hashem granted him with the child after 20 years of praying. He was able to take Abraham's teachings and continue to spread it into the world. And hopefully I can make another video on this to elaborate on it, but thank you so much.